Hey everyone, in this FIFA 23 best camera settings video I'm going to show you exactly that, and in my opinion it's this camera mode that we've got here. So this camera mode is the co-op mode, and it's basically the most zoomed out one. I've also made a tweak where I've zoomed out the camera even more than the standard, just so I can see where everybody is on the pitch. Now the downside of this of course is you're not seeing the detail as much as some of the other camera modes. That was a lovely goal, wasn't it? But you are seeing exactly where all of the bulk of your players are on the pitch, and also where your rival players are as well, you know, the other team. And you're not having to rely so much on the little radar that we see on the screen. Let's just skip that up across there. So look how many of the players we can see in this mode. So it's really, really cool. So how do we change this, and what are the other camera modes that we've got available? Is this really the best camera settings? Well, I'll talk about them and show you how you change them. You can make your own decision on it. I want to keep this video nice and short and not waffle on too much. So I've hit the pause button, so that's the menu button for me on the Xbox, and you go down to settings and then go to game settings, and inside here then right button over on the Xbox or R1 on the PlayStation until you're on camera, and here is where you can access your cameras. Now one thing to point out is depending on what mode you're in, you may need to change these other ones as well. So if you're just playing single player, you can just change the camera here, but if you're going to play offline multiplayer matches, you need to change it here, lock 2-player camera here, etc, etc. But this is what we're looking at here. Now there's a nice preview that shows as we mess around with this as well. So just there, as you can see, watch as I flick through them. So you got the classic one, which is another one of mine that I quite like. It's got this left to right look that we've got, so that one's fine as well. But this one is just having that sort of camera up that bit higher, I think helps as well, just so you can see where the ball's floating in a little easier, and you know, time your headings and your headers better, and your volleys, a bit like we saw with Salah scoring that goal just a minute ago. The other thing that you've got here, dynamic, I think is zoomed in too much, so let's just have a very quick look at that. Look how, you know, we can see far more of the detail, but I have no idea where my players are, so I'm having to look down at that radar to, you know, get an idea of where my players are before I do the pass, which is a nightmare because I'm taking my, you know, eyes off of where the ball is actually in the game. I can play like this, but I just can't see quite where people are, and it's much harder to sort of time things and get them right, even though the detail does look nicer. So if we go back to those settings again, let's just have another look. Camera, so that was dynamic. End to end, I do think there is an argument for either this one, probably this one over the Pro, because the Pro is that bit more zoomed in. But end to end, the argument I think for using this is, what I tend to find when I'm playing left to right is I tend to be more sort of biased towards my players that are nearer me in the screen. So when we're here, not here, so there, for example, that number 7 down the bottom there, I would use that player far more than the player in the distance because I can't really see them. So that is the downside of the left to right gameplay, but it is the classic view. So, you know, there is an argument for this end-to-end mode if you want to, you know, even up your playing down the left and the right wing. I'm sure I'm not the only one who ends up being dominated on the side closest to me. So if we have a little look at this, it's quite weird playing this way, as you can see. And it also means that the way you've learned your dribbling and your skill moves will vary slightly because you're now pointing the player in a different direction to how you classically do. But you can see we're coming forwards here. We can still play quite nicely here, but I do find it a little bit confusing, particularly how we sort of, you know, kind of like the angle changes depending on where we are in the pitch. But whether you like that or not is up to you. You can see I am struggling with this to get the ball back. I do not like this mode so much, and we're probably going to concede a goal here because I don't like it that much. Give me the ball, thank you. So yeah, as we come forward, it's also a bit weird because I cannot see what is ahead of me at all. I'm having to rely on that sort of radar. Oh, good save, keeper. So, you know, it's up to you. That you do have that advantage when you're shooting as well, that you can kind of direct left or right on the goal a bit easier than when you're playing left to right. So there is an argument for it, but I would rule it out purely on that. So the Pro one is similar but zoomed in and kind of lower camera angle. I think it's harder to play, but does look very exciting when you're playing that way. Broadcast I don't like because the camera angle sort of varies. You know, the camera's kind of static where it is, so when you're off to one end, you're kind of looking from a distance almost. So, you know, I'd rule that one out. Default's okay. Sports game cam is actually a good game cam, I think. So I'll just show you that one. It is fairly similar to the co-op one, but it's a little more zoomed in. The corner, of course, is using its own camera, but you can see there, we can see quite a bit of the pitch, but I find it a bit weird how, you know, the camera sort of, I don't know, it sort of moves along with us, but not quite where I want it. But I can still see quite a bit of my players there, but not quite as much as I can with that co-op one. So if we go back in here, just trying to think if we've missed any. So you got Telly, which is a popular one that people like. I'll just show you that one. But you can see we can't see as much detail, I don't think, as we can with the co-op one. So we're still seeing a reasonable bit, but a lot of people I know like this mode. We're up nice and high, which I do like about it, that we can see what's going on. But if we compare it, finally coming back to the mode that I suggested, you'll see that this one is just giving us that bit more sort of view of our players. The other thing I've got here, which is just tweak things slightly, is the camera zoom is set to 0. And if you look, just hopefully you can see that. You see that's just zoomed a little bit. It doesn't make a massive difference. So I'm saying if you look just there, you can see like a ghost of the pitch at the minute, and you can see the difference between it. So it does zoom it out a little bit by changing that to 0. You can also change the height if you want. This doesn't seem to make a massive difference on this particular camera, so I just leave it as it is, but you can mess around with that if you want. But look how much more sort of players we can see in this mode. You know, we see so much more of the pitch, so that's, in my opinion, the best camera settings to use. So that's it really. I hope that was useful to you. If it was, give us a thumbs up please, much appreciated. Any comments welcome. If there's another camera setting that you prefer, do let me know. But that does seem to make a lot of sense to me, that particular camera setting. So co-op is the one to go for in my opinion, set the zoom to 0. Thanks so much for watching. If this was useful to you, have a little look at my other videos that I'll put at the end of here. And if you like what you see, hit that subscribe. I don't just cover FIFA 23 but many other games as well. Thanks for watching.